Mhm.
I now call the July 28, 2020 meeting of the City of High Point Planning and Zoning Commission to order. My name is Tom Kirkman. I am the chair of the commission. And now I'll ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call of the commissioners that are in attendance this evening.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer present if you are here physically and remote if you are connected remotely. Mr. Juzak.
Present.
Mr. Kirkman.
Present.
Mr. Moore.
Present.
Ms. Swift.
Present.
Mr. Venable.
Remote.
Mr. Walsh.
Present.
Mr. Wheatley.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 members here.
All right, we do have a quorum. I want to also acknowledge the staff in the Planning and Development Department, Transportation Department, City Attorney's Office are also in attendance this evening to provide technical and professional assistance to the commission. We will now consider the minutes from our June 23rd, 2020 meeting of the commission. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes as prepared?
Mr. Chairman, this is Thad Juzak. I'd like to propose a change to, or an addition to, on page 8 of 12.
Very well.
On the second bullet of that page, it currently says, Mr. Juzak said that he didn't see any problem with having the electronic changeable copy sign. He added that there is a similar sign located across the street, and it's a question of whether the commission wants to put a sign there. I would add one sentence. However, he expressed concerns about the number of times the applicant has requested a rezoning to make changes within the development.
Very well, so noted. Are there any other questions or comments regarding those minutes? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes as they have been amended.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
All in favor? And I will ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call again.
I will correct a previous statement. You have 7 members present. Members, when I call your name, please respond either yes or no in approval of the June 23rd minutes as amended. Mr. Juzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Swift.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you had 7 people respond in favor of approving those minutes.
By a vote of 7-0, the minutes of June 23rd, 2020 have been approved as amended. Before we begin our public hearing this evening, on behalf of the commission, I would like to welcome everyone. The commission is charged with reviewing and making recommendations to the city council on a variety of development applications and on plans and policies for the city. Our review includes conducting a public hearing to obtain additional information and comments that could be important in evaluating the item. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting state restrictions on public gatherings, the commission is meeting remotely in accordance with state law. This necessitates some changes to our normal meeting procedure, and I will take a minute to explain them now. 6 commissioners are present at City Hall this evening. 1 other commissioner is joining us remotely. Items on the agenda will be heard as normal, with a member of city staff presenting a summary of the application, followed by the staff's recommendation. The applicant and those assisting the applicant, all who are attending this meeting remotely, will then be given an opportunity to present information in support of the item. The planning and development staff published and sent notices that previously solicited the public to provide comments on these items by email, phone, or letter. Received public comments have been made available to each of the commissioners for review prior to this meeting. The period for public comment on these items will extend for 24 hours beyond the conclusion of this night's hearing. For that reason, the commission will not be voting on any hearing item on tonight's agenda. Instead, this meeting will be recessed to Thursday, July 30th at 6:00 p.m. This will allow the commission to further discuss any additional information or comments submitted by the public before making an official recommendation to the city council. And I do want to mention for any members of the public that may be joining us this evening, you do have an additional 24 hours since the close of this meeting this evening to contact the city with your questions or comments. And I want to provide you with the best means for doing that. You can email your comments to build@highpointnc.gov or publiccomment@highpointnc.gov. If you wish to call, you may leave a message at 336-883-3522. You may also drop off your written comments in the City of High Point's utility payment drop boxes, which are located on both sides of the municipal building located at 211 South Hamilton Street, which is in the Green Drive and Commerce Avenue parking lots. And with that, we'll begin tonight's first order of business. This is a request by UMA Geotechnical Construction, zoning map amendment 20-13. Mr. Shannon.
Yes, Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. I'm going to bring up the presentation for the public to review. Once again, Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department, and I'll be providing a summary of this zoning request. The first item is zoning map amendment 20-13. This is a request to rezone a 15.5 acre site in the northern portion of the city's planning area. The property is currently under zoning control of Guilford County. This currently has a zoning of residential single-family 40 and agricultural under Guilford County zoning jurisdiction. The applicant is requesting annexation into the City of High Point and establishing a conditional zoning light industrial district on the site. The property is located along the south side of National Service Road, approximately 200 feet east of Sandy Ridge Road. And this is the site in question that is under consideration for rezoning. The applicant desires to develop a major industrial service use, a specialty contractor facility on the site. This would include outdoor storage of geotechnical drilling equipment, trailer storage, and outdoor storage of other equipment. In order to have access to city utilities, they have submitted annexation, and thus to have anytime property is annexed, city zoning must be established on the property. As I previously noted, this is in the northern portion of the city's planning area, which extends up to I-40. And the land use plan designates this area as restricted industrial. This is a copy of the city's land use plan for that specific portion of the city. The area you see highlighted in that purple color is from the adopted land use map, and that area is designated as restricted industrial. This land use designation is intended to accommodate office, warehouse, research and development, and light manufacturing, or assembly of uses on large sites. And there have been a number of such annexations and zoning approvals in this portion of the city. You have two right next to the site. Go back one screen. As you can see, directly to the north of the site, and just to explain to the public, the areas that are highlighted in gray or unincorporated still under Guilford County's zoning jurisdiction. Those areas that are highlighted in white are lands that have already been annexed or within the City of High Point's corporate limits. So directly to the north of this site, there is a CULI zoning that's already been established. And about 500 feet to the east, there's another industrial park that is zoned CULI. Now, although these adjacent industrial developments have conditional use light industrial zoning, they were conditioned to meet the higher development standards of the former corporate park district. Under the new development orders, which became effective on January 1st of 2017, that corporate park district was eliminated, and a new district, the employment center district, was established to support limited industrial type uses in areas designated as restricted industrial. The employment center or EC district contains building and site design standards to prohibit more intensive type industrial uses. It limits outdoor storage to 50% of the area of the principal building. Prohibits any form of manufacturing or repair outside or any type of outdoor assembly. The proposed specialty contractor use that the applicant wants to place on the site will be considered a major industrial service use, which is not permitted in the EC district. That is the reason why the applicants are requesting the conditional use light industrial instead of the employment center district to allow that use. To mitigate any impacts and address policy issues, they've included with their application a conditional zoning ordinance where they have added conditions to address land use policy issues on the land use plan and to mitigate any impact. The primary issue is you have minor industrial service and major industrial service. A minor industrial service is a permitted use, but that is a use that's intended where everything's going to operate inside. So if you have any type of vibration, noise, dust, odor, so forth, all that's occurring inside the building and not impacting adjacent property owners. With a major industrial service use, all the activity can occur outside and there could be impact on adjacent property owners. So that was a key concern that staff had with this request. I want to point out some key issues from their the staff's analysis that note how they have addressed those issues. As far as compatibility with surrounding area, the applicant has offered a condition that the only light industrial use permitted would be the major industrial service use. No other light industrial use is allowed. Any other use has to be a use that's permitted in the employment center district. They've offered to restrict outdoor storage to 20% of the site, and they have included this conditional zoning plan. This is going to be part of the conditional zoning ordinance. This area that you see highlighted in yellow in the rear, that will be where, it didn't show up too well, but this is the area where outdoor storage could be permitted. And outdoor storage is limited to 20% of the site. This is toward the rear of the site and is over 600 feet away from the site frontage and from Sandy Ridge Road. Also, they've noted that in the event a major industrial service use is developed on the site, a type A planting yard must be installed around the perimeter of the site. Now, typically for a planting yard, whether it's the type of yard is depending on what's next to the site. If you have a similar use, it may not be as wide. If you have a use like a residential use, it may be a higher standard. The type A yard is the city's most restrictive planting yard. The applicants offer a condition that if a major industrial service use is placed on the site, the type A planting yard, which is the most restrictive, will be placed around the perimeter of the site, regardless of what's next to it. So as you can see on their conditional zoning plan, they're showing this type A buffer yard around the entire perimeter of the site. And that planting yard has a width of 45 feet. It can be reduced to 35 feet if a 5-foot high opaque fence is installed. And in that planting yard, it requires the planting of 14 trees every 100 linear feet and 33 evergreen shrubs every 100 linear feet. The conditions offered for limiting the location and the amount, as far as the 20% of the site that can use outdoor storage, in condition with that higher landscaping standards, when you take that in conjunction with the size of the site and how deep the site is, over 1,300 feet, that would help ensure compatibility with adjacent properties. We also want to ensure that the applicant's conditions mitigate any adverse impact on adjacent lands. I would note that, as we noted on the previous projection, the site does abut light industrial to the north and to the east. So to ensure those other adjacent properties to the west and south are mitigated, the applicant's condition that outdoor storage be toward the rear of the site. That would ensure that those lands along the street frontage and Sandy Ridge Road, there would be compatibility because all that storage activity is going to be back here. I'd also note there is an intermittent stream, and that runs along the southern boundary of the site. The city's development ordinance note that when you have an intermittent stream abutting your site or on your site, a 50-foot wide stream buffer is required along the top of bank on both sides of the stream. So there's a 50-foot buffer along the north side of that stream a 50-foot buffer along the south side of the stream. So you're going to have a minimum 100-foot buffer for any lands to the south. So that would ensure that issues are mitigated for lands to the south of the site. Based upon the conditions offered, staff is recommending approval of the request to rezone this site to a conditional zoning light industrial district. And this is an aerial of the site if you hadn't had a chance to go and visit it. Staff has noted in the staff report a consistency statement and a regional statement. The request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because as conditioned, the requested conditional zoning light industrial district meets objectives of the community growth vision statement and the land use plan, specifically protecting the appearance of property along the Sandy Ridge Road corridor. Furthermore, the request is reasonable in the public interest because with the use and site conditions, the requested conditional zoning LI district will mitigate visual impacts upon adjacent properties and will be similar to previous light industrial districts approved in this area. The commission must place in the official record a statement of consistency with adopted plans, and we offered that language in the staff report for your consideration. That is a summary of the staff analysis of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Any questions for Mr. Shannon? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is the applicant with us tonight remotely?
This is Judy Stalder, 3725 Admiral Drive.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything to the presentation?
Yes, please. Also here to answer any of your questions is Brian Despain from UMA Geotechnical, the applicant. Since the announcement of FedEx Hub in 1998, it's been clear that this area would develop industrially, and the land use plan shows that. I want to offer a little bit different take on the restricted industrial classification. It includes office, warehouse, research and development, distribution, and light manufacturing or assembly uses on large sites. But restricted industrial is not a zoning. The land use map is not a zoning map. So this classification doesn't automatically indicate that this should be employment center zoning district. What it does indicate is that you need a lower intensity industrial use to be more appropriate, and that's what UMA Geotechnical proposes with their request for conditional zoning light industrial. UMA is currently located just across the corporate limit line in Greensboro, but they've outgrown their site. They plan to move to High Point, locate their offices there, their indoor and outdoor storage of equipment, and a place for employees to park while on the job. But the actual physical activity, the actual work, is done off this site and on job sites throughout the southeastern United States. So there's not any actual work going on there. It's just a place to keep their equipment and for their employees to come and get the equipment and move to the job site. But to ensure the lower intensity of the use, as the land use plan suggests, we've conditioned the zoning to limit the possible uses on the property, to restrict this outdoor storage area that can be to an area that can be effectively screened from adjacent properties and public right-of-way, and to limit that amount of the storage area. So the area that's shown where outdoor storage can be is larger than 20% of the property. However, the outdoor storage will be located somewhere in that area and will be limited to 20% of the property. In addition, we're providing an effective perimeter landscaping to screen the use from adjacent properties and public right-of-way. So this is in conformance with the land use plan. There are other light industrially zoned properties in the immediate area. We're happy to answer any of your questions, but we ask you for your favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Stalder this evening? Nothing? Very well. In that case, I'll ask the commissioners if they'd like to deliberate among each other. Anything on this item? I'll remind them that we did not receive any public comments or questions, but the public has another 24 hours to do so if they wish. If there's no more discussion from the commission, I'll close the public hearing on this item and ask the commission members to review any public comments that may be received over the next 24 hours. I will ask the recording secretary, will those comments be sent to us or will they simply be available at Thursday night's meeting?
Comments will, if any are received, they will be emailed to you by noon on Thursday.
All right, very good.
Time to review.
Very good, thank you. In that case, at that time, we will give further consideration to this request and we'll make a recommendation at the recess meeting on Thursday, beginning at 6:00 p.m. The next item on tonight's agenda is the City of High Point zoning map amendment 20-14. Mr. Shannon?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. In your next application, zoning map amendment 20-14, this is a request by the City of High Point City Council to rezone 733 properties totaling approximately 193 acres as part of the comprehensive zoning map amendment project. Excuse me. This is a multi-year project that was initiated in 2017. The purpose is to, one, review and evaluate zoning of lands throughout the city. Two, identify areas where zoning is out of sync or inconsistent with current land use policies. And three, remove improper or obsolete zoning and propose appropriate changes. This application is round 3 of the comprehensive zoning map amendment project. These round of cases and some ones you're going to be seeing in the future were initiated by the City Council in October of 2019. This application you're going to be reviewing this evening focuses on evaluating various townhome and multifamily developed projects in northern and northwestern portion of the city's planning area. This is the area, kind of an overview map. There are 5 specific areas to be evaluated that are identified by maps 1 through 5. Map 1 will be for the Saddlebrook subdivision. Map 2, the Fair Oaks at Bentry subdivision. Map 3 would be the Orchard Knob and St. Andrews subdivision. Map 4 is the Deerfield subdivision. And map 5 has 4 developments: the Heritage Ridge, Ashbrook Townhomes, Hedgecock Place condominium, and an undeveloped parcel at 130 Hedgecock Road. Now, the request proposed to rezone these various residential developments to remove outdated or obsolete conditions. These developments were annexed and granted City of High Point zoning between 1995 and 2004 under the former development ordinance, which was replaced by our current ordinance in 2017. The various conditions were established to address land use policies, road improvement, and to ensure compatibility with adjacent properties. Some of these projects were at that time were on the outer fringes of the city. So that was why some of them had conditions about compatibility with adjacent lands. These are no longer fringe areas. Most of these areas have had adjacent developments around them of similar or higher intensity. These subdivisions are now complete and the various conditions have all been met. So the purpose of this is to remove that conditional use or CU designation as those conditions have been met and completed. And I'm going to briefly go through the various developments. The first one that's on map 1 is the Saddlebrook subdivision, located along the west side of Sandy Ridge Road, south of Bame Road. In that subdivision, you have an area here that's developed with townhomes and twin homes that is conditional use RN5. And there's also a single family portion of that subdivision that is conditional use R5. This development was annexed and retained as current zoning in 2004. It is complete. All conditions have been met. And as I previously noted, the intent is to keep the underlying zoning. Just remove that CU designation because those conditions have been met. So staff is recommending rezoning from conditional use RN5 to just RM5 and rezone the single family portion from conditional use R5 to R5. The next development is, and this is an aerial of this area that you can see that it's fully developed. On map 2 is the Fair Oaks at Bentry townhome development located along the west side of Barrow Road and south of Willard Dairy Road. This subdivision was annexed and obtained as current zoning in 1995 and has developed as a townhome, twin home development. It has been completed, all conditions have been met, and staff is recommending rezoning from the conditional use RM5 district to RM5. This is an aerial showing this area. This is a prime example of when this site came in. All this area to the north and west was just vacant, undeveloped land. Since then, it's surrounded with similar townhome developments and single-family developments. On map 3, it shows 2 subdivisions along the north and south side of Skeet Club Road, approximately 1,400 feet west of Johnson Street. This is Johnson Street here to the east. On the north side is the Orchard Knob Townhome Subdivision. On the south side is the St. Andrews Townhome Subdivision. Both these developments are complete, and staff is recommending rezoning from the conditional use RM5 district to the RM5 district, getting rid of that CU designation. And this is an aerial of those 2 developments showing that they are fully complete. Next, it's the Deerfield Townhome Subdivision, lying along the east side of Skeet Club Road and south of Wyndham Avenue. This development was annexed and attained its current zoning in 1996 as a townhome subdivision. It has been complete for several years, and the recommendation is to rezone it from conditional use RM5 to RM5. And finally, on map 4, there are 4 different areas. We have the Heritage Ridge Townhome Subdivision, the Ashbrook Place Townhome Subdivision, the Hedgecock Place Condominium or multifamily development, and a undeveloped lot at 130 Hedgecock Road. The first 3 items, Ashbrook, Heritage Ridge, Ashbrook Place, and the Hedgecock Place, they received zoning approval in the early 2000s. They are all complete. If you had a chance to visit this area, they all kind of surround the Phillips Soccer Complex. They have met all zoning conditions, and staff is recommending rezoning from the existing conditional use RM16 district to RM16. The last area is an undeveloped parcel. This is a landlocked piece of parcel that's part of the abutting apartment complex, the Mason Manor apartment complex to the north. This site received zoning approval in 2002. It was intended to allow development of additional multifamily structure for that apartment complex, but as of today, it has not developed. There was a specific condition placed on this site that no access come from Hedgecock Road. There was concern that along Hedgecock Road is zoned for single family, it's developed as single family, and the condition was placed on that access comes from Northgate Court. With the adoption of the current development ordinance, there is a specific access standard of the ordinance that you cannot take access through a single family area to reach a multifamily development. So now that's part of the ordinance, you don't need that as a condition. So we're just recommending to clean up the zoning instead of having that as conditional use RM16, just have that as RM16 zoning as the rest of that apartment complex. And that is a summary of these parcels that are part of this round of the comprehensive zoning map amendment. I would note staff did receive several calls. I think we had about 70 calls that we filled. Once staff explained what was going on, there were no objections. And just in case anyone's from the public's listening and may still have some of the same questions, I kind of categorized the most the major questions received. Is this going to change the use of the development? No, it's not. The development's staying the same. Is this going to affect my homeowners association rules? No. Those rules are maintained by that homeowners association. The city does not maintain HOA rules. Is this request associated with new development in the area? No, it's not. Is this request going to change the zoning on adjacent properties? No, it's not. Is this request going to include annexation of adjacent property? No, it's not. Will it change the school district? No, it's not. And because Ski Club Road and St. Andrews Road, there are going to be some widening projects. I had several questions. Is this part of the street widening proposal? No, it's not. Those were the bulk of the questions that staff has received. And as I previously noted, once staff explained the administrative nature of this request, no one voiced any objections. Staff is recommending approval of these zoning changes. The request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the proposed zoning map amendments are supported by the various land use designations, these areas as contained in the adopted land use plan. And the request is reasonable in the public interest because the amendments are needed to remove unneeded restrictions on the properties and to remove outdated conditional use zoning. That is a brief summary of this round of the zoning map amendment project under zoning application 20-14. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
I have like a general question about conditional use.
The chairman recognizes Mr. Wheatley.
Thank you, sir. Just a general question with the conditional use. It seems like we're going through this process because they've already adopted all the conditions and it's final. Is there a way to write into the conditions that they expire once everything has been completed or the property has been completed?
I don't believe there is a way that can be written.
You know, once it's verified that they're complete with all their restrictions or development or. Not that I mind doing this. This is fun.
Good question.
Let me just follow. It might work in some scenarios of conditions, but it's hard to sort of project certain things like that in terms of what's going to happen. The reason here why we're trying to really focus on conditional use is because it was done under a quasi-judicial process with the issuance of a permit. That is no longer being done. We do legislative or conditional zoning through legislative process now, and it's not allowed in our ordinance. You can't amend these districts. You can't the only way to amend it is through a rezoning process, just like we're doing here. And the new state legislation is clearly, that's coming forth, it's going to be effective, is going to remove this authority anyway. So we're just trying to clean the map up and just get rid of these conditions where they have been met. There will probably still be some conditional uses that will remain and they get sort of converted, if you will. But the restriction is that developer is sort of limited. They can't amend it. They have to either come back before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council to seek a rezoning. And so in many of these situations, we're just trying to head things off at the pass, if you will, to foresee that these are not anything that's going to be needed now, and that it's a lot easier just to remove these old sort of standards, if you will, that apply to the property, so that we're not penalizing or prohibiting somebody from developing or causing any kind of conflicts in that nature. But yeah, we try to limit as a normal nature of conditions. We try to make sure we limit those conditions to the ones that are necessary. And we try to write them with some things in mind. So you'll see sometimes where staff will write this, will say, this landscaping is required until such time the property next door is developed with some use other than residential, something like that, so that we do have sort of that what if scenario of timing. But it's sort of hard to indicate when the development is complete in some scenarios.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for city staff? Any questions or deliberation among the commissioners? Very well. I'll close the public hearing on this item and ask the commission members to continue to be on the lookout for any further public comments or questions they may receive before we reconvene on Thursday. And we will make a recommendation at that time, Thursday evening, beginning at 6:00 p.m. Again, remind members of the public that if they would like to comment or have further questions, they may contact the city over the next 24 hours. That's all we have for tonight's public hearing items. Next up will be the director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a couple things real quick to make note of. The first item there on your list, the comprehensive zoning map amendment, that first sentence is actually incorrect. It's my fault. It should just read basically that the staff is preparing another set of map amendments that will be at your next meeting on August the 25th. So we'll have another set of comprehensive zoning map amendments, just like we just heard before you at your next meeting. The other thing I just wanted to call attention to was the text amendment. The City Council is scheduled to consider the text amendment that y'all make recommendation on at your July meeting, excuse me, at your June meeting, regular meeting, at their next meeting on August the 3rd. We will have two zoning text amendment, two zoning map amendments for next month. That'll be the comprehensive rezoning as well as one other zoning map amendment. And I did want to just recognize for the record, Mr. Moore, Mr. Alex Moore, the new member that is joining the commission here tonight. And then the last thing I just wanted to indicate that Gina, I've asked Gina to sort of provide you a little bit of information regarding your email and how that works. So you have a little more informative.
So I just want to give you a couple reminders on email tonight. As you all know, the city issues you a city email account for you to use as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. All commission emails will be sent to that city email. We're not going to send anything to your personal emails at this point. Everything's going to that city email address. This provides a method for the public to contact you without providing your personal information to the public. So we're not giving out your phone number, we're not giving out your address. But this is a very easy way where we can say, oh, if you want to get a hold of Mr. Kirkman, here's his city email address. Please email him there. Staff does monitor the accounts. We also set up some filters so that you don't see a lot of the city-wide email addresses that go out. You'll notice that just having a city email address, you will get emails that are really intended for city employees. So we try to filter those out so they don't bog down your email. We just have anything that hits, some key staff members that generally send out some of those citywide emails, that it goes to your trash where you can review those if you choose. There are also filters set up to where if you hit certain keywords in the email subject or the body of the email, they will automatically forward to your personal email address if you have a personal email address. Some of those keywords, for example, might be rezoning, application, planning and zoning commission, anything like that. If it hits it, it will automatically forward those. Just be very careful that if you do receive an email from a member of the public and it forwards it to your personal email, please make sure that you're careful about when you respond back, use your city email account, unless you don't care if that member of the public has your personal email address. And just, if you need your login information, I've got that information tonight. If you need a reminder of how you access that account, I have instructions on that as well. If you all have any questions, let me know.
Does the password expire, or do we need to change passwords?
The password is set.
Okay.
It cannot be changed.
Okay.
It is fixed.
For the record, the question was from Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Is there any other business this evening? If not, I will move for adjournment. We have a second. Recessing tonight, and we will rejoin Thursday evening. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll ask the recording secretary to take a vote.
Members, when I call your name, please vote yes or no on the motion to recess until Thursday, July 30th at 6 p.m. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Swift.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of that motion.
Very well. In that case, by a vote of 7-0, we are recessed until Thursday, July 30th at 6:00 p.m.
Way to go, Megan.
Here first.